Schoolgirl Zombie Hunter is the newest of the fan-servicey-like games from Tamsoft, the creators of Senran Kagura and Onechanbara. This game has yet to get announced for a North American release, so for now, we have to import it. But is this zombie-killing game worth importing, or is it just a lot of skin with no substance? Schoolgirl Zombie Hunter is a tad different from previous Tamsoft titles. Instead of being a hack-and-slash beat-em-up, this is more of a third-person shooter that even has an emphasis a bit on cooperative gameplay. The entire campaign can be played single-player, or you can actually jump online and play with other people. However, the fan service aspects of the game are as large as ever, with your characters losing clothing the more damage they end up taking, and you become more vulnerable when you lose your clothing. There's also plenty of gratuitous fan service panty shots and the like from different camera angles throughout the course of the game's main story, and there are plenty of provocative costumes as well, some of which that you'll be able to unlock as the game goes on. The game is mostly in Japanese, with only a few menus like the options actually being in English, so you'll be able to kind of read them, but even with that, for the most part, I was able to kind of follow the story, at least basically, as well as be able to complete each of the missions with little problem. There was in fact only one mission during the main campaign where I had to kind of think for a few moments before I figured out what they wanted me to do, but for the most part, I was able to breeze through the main missions with zero issues as far as the Japanese was concerned. As far as the plot is concerned, it revolves around 5 schoolgirls and their school that hasn't been completely overrun and infected yet. The entire game takes place basically within a couple of levels of the school itself, as well as a few other small areas outside of that, but for the most part you'll be contained within different areas of the school, some of which get larger and other ones smaller depending upon what particular mission you're trying to complete. The game's campaign is broken up into 5 different chapters, with each chapter having 5 to 6 missions, along with 4 bonus missions that you unlock once you complete each of the chapters. There is an okay variety when it comes to the mission types you'll be completing for each of the chapters, such as destroying all the zombies currently on screen, defending a particular object for a certain amount of time, surviving for a certain amount of time, battling the game's bosses, or sometimes having to run around and find keycards. The way that the action is handled is all through the game's guns, and while each girl starts off with a default kind of gun, you can actually equip any weapon you like to any of the girls using the equip menu. You'll find a variety of guns throughout the course of gameplay. As you're destroying zombies and scattered throughout levels, you'll be picking up more and more drops, and of course certain guns are going to be better than other ones as you're finding them. Each one will have a different amount of ammo, or different power, or reload speed, or firing speed, and you'll have to figure out which ones end up working best for you. You have your pretty standard fare as far as types are concerned, such as your sniper rifle, pistol, automatic, assault rifles, and of course shotguns. However, when it comes to the game's controls themselves, it's a bit clunky. Running around and being able to roll away from enemy attacks worked for the most part, but there was a lot of hit detection issues. When it came to actually the gunplay itself, it just never really felt right. There are so many games out there that just do a third-person shooter so much better than this title. You have an aim cursor that you can kind of aim at enemies, but it kind of jumps sometimes or auto-locks on certain enemies even when you're not wanting to look at that particular enemy. There were a few times where I was using the shotgun to try to blast something right in front of me and end up hitting something to the left of me. It was a bit weird and took a lot to get used to, but I was still able to get through the game with relatively low amounts of problems. Throughout the course of the campaign, there are a few levels that contain some extra collectibles, including extra clothing items that you will be able to find that are kind of set in those particular campaign missions instead of just being random drops from enemies. While difficulty starts off pretty lax, in fact for the first 2 chapters I pretty much breezed through the game, but then it slowly started to get a little bit more difficult as I went on, making me optimize which weapons I was using a bit more. Though in the end I found the assault rifles and shotguns the best to be able to take out most of the horde, with me using the sniper rifle only in a rare few occasions. The game does feature 2 different difficulties, normal and hard, and you can't go right into hard once you complete the normal version of a mission, so it's basically like 2 full complete campaigns. There's a lot of story that is given between the missions themselves, usually at the beginning and then at the end of missions, and if you're not familiar with Japanese, you may have a bit of trouble following it, though I was able to kind of get a basic grasp for what was going on. It didn't seem like it was anything groundbreaking by any means for this particular style of genre, but maybe it was just lost in translation. completing all the levels in the normal mode campaign, as well as a bunch of the side missions as I slowly unlocked them, just to gain that little bit of extra experience and a few extra guns here and there. It took me roughly 3.5 hours in order to complete it. From the technical side of things, the game ran okay. There was a lot of stuttering and frame rate drops here and there, especially when there was a lot of action going on. The game also crashed on me on 2 different occasions. Thankfully, that was the only times it crashed on me, and it didn't cause any other issues when it did end up crashing. The game is a full-price release, being around $67 for just the game, not including shipping from sites like PlayAsia, or if you want to download it digitally, it was around 6,900 yen. The game does feature a full trophy list, including a platinum trophy, and while going through the main campaign, I unlocked around 50% of the trophies already. There is ones for getting a triple S rank on each one of the main story missions, and one for also killing 10,000 zombies, which is going to be a bit of a grind, as I just got a little over 1,000 on my initial playthrough. While I'm a big fan of Senran Kagura and Onechanbara, I feel like this game from Tamsoft just ends up missing the mark. The fan service is there, but it lacks the charm of the likes of Senran Kagura with the interaction between the characters. Even playing a game like that in all Japanese, I was still able to get the subtleties between a lot of the characters, where the characters in here just are completely bland, almost emotionless when it comes to the game's cutscenes. Then factoring in the overall clunky gunplay, it just really doesn't bring a whole lot to the table that was enjoyable, especially at the price that it is. Importing a game, there's only a handful that are really worth bringing over if they don't end up getting North American releases, and unfortunately Schoolgirl Zombie Hunter is one that I really have a hard time recommending to fans of Tamsoft's games or fans of Japanese imports. With everything said, I'm going to be giving Schoolgirl Zombie Hunter a 5 out of 10. But anyway guys, that's going to wrap up this review. I'd like to thank you for watching, and of course I hope you enjoyed.